Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, and I can hear myself as well. Hi, my name is Simon, and I'm a partner at Arcgency and an architect. We are a Copenhagen-based office, and I'd like to thank CANactions for inviting me and inviting us. And I'm especially very glad to talk about values because me and my good friend Møller, who I got the office with, we started the office because we believe that we as architects and as human beings, we have a responsibility to take care of nature, or we have a responsibility to build better cities, build a better world, and we have to do it without exploiting the nature that surrounds us, and that's our common heritage. So these values means a lot to us, and we try to do in Arcgency. We try to build sustainable architecture by using new methods of building techniques. We try to always look at the life cycle analysis of a building, and we always try to see at the potential of the reusability of a building and the building components. And in the office, we got something that we call resource-conscious architecture. And this is a parameter that we always use when we do our projects, which basically means that we see every project, every building as a material bank. So we got the materials that we use for the building for an amount of time, and then afterwards, when it's not a building anymore, it's used for something else. So we always try to look and make a strategy to see what do we do with the building components when it's not a building anymore. And we've been working for quite some time with this, and I'll try to go through some of our projects with this perspective on the projects and show them to you and talk about it. And then I'll be very glad if you, after my presentation, would say which potential you see in having this lens or this perspective on architecture. How do you see that in like a Ukrainian context or in a context in the architectural world? I think I just need this to shift. I like to start up with our own office building. This is what you see in the front here is the front of our office, which we call Stack 1. And this is Stack 2, is the younger sister of Stack 1. We built Stack 1 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago we made this. This is 1,000 square meters of container building, and this is 650 square meters of container buildings, which I'll come back to. But what you can see in this picture is that the buildings are they're almost like levitating, they're almost like raised above the ground, so their foundation is sticking up from the ground as to show as they are only here temporary. They're only here for a short time. And this is one of the points that I want to talk about, which is also the name of the lecture, the permanent impermanence. There is this conception in architecture and buildings that we want buildings to be forever. We want it to be something permanent, but it's not. You know, the only permanent fact is that nothing is permanent. So everything is impermanent. And we try to use this as a driver to see our project always as impermanent projects, and what kind of qualities does that give to our projects. Our own office started up because we were biking around Copenhagen. Copenhagen is a very bike-friendly city. It's flat like a pancake, and we go around, trying to sneak up new places, what's happening, what's the potential out there. And this place is, this picture is like 4 or 5 years old. And this place is the biggest industrial harbor we had in Copenhagen. It's called the North Harbor, this place, and all this shipping starts to shift away. So it stopped as an industrial area like 10 years ago or something. It's very little shipping going on here now. And then in 20 and 30 years, all of this will be new urban development. So it starts down here, and you see like the corner of Copenhagen in here. You see the density of the residential areas in here. This will spread out the next 30 years to all of this 40,000 people living and working out here in 30 years. But in the meantime, there's this gap, there's this pause, there's this what's going to happen out here. And what we did was that we called up a guy who's now our client, and we said, you got a shipping company, but no ship comes in anymore. We got an idea to put on your ground. He had a lease for the next 15 years on this ground. We got an idea to put up temporary office buildings for the next 15 years. So instead of piles of rock and sand, you'll have creative offices putting up there. And it sounded interesting for him, and it sounded interesting for the planning authorities of Copenhagen. And basically, I'll walk you through this diagram which tells what is the concept of this. And the concept is our main building block is a shipping container. And that is built in a factory. Then it's on the 7 seas for between 10 and 20 years. Then it's worn out. And when it's worn out, it goes to the scrapyard. And or it will be melted to new metal. But that today takes a lot of energy, so it's cheaper and more energy efficient to build new ones. What we do is that we take the worn out containers and we pile them up, and we use them as the basic structure of a building, and we use the features of the container, the container is one of the most refined industrial products. You can get a container anywhere. It's optimized to the last minimal static wise, and so it's cheap and it's very strong. So what we use, what it already can do, we use it, the strength in it, and we use that we can interlock it, which means we can build a building and we can take the building apart. So the building would stand at one place for maybe 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. We take it apart, we put it in another place, maybe in the North Harbor, then we take it apart again, we move it, and we can even move it by ship, so we could take it to Ukraine or we could take it to Uganda, and this we could do several times, and in the end, like in 80 years, we can take it all apart again, because everything is designed for disassembly, so everything is designed to taking apart, so 95% of our building we can reuse on a component stage. Here are some of the features that we use. We use the already optimized interlocking system that you got. It's the same way you lock them on ships or on cars and trucks. We use the fact that it's all metal, so we got the magnetic features, so we can use magnets as mounting when we build. We bolt everything together instead of welding, so we can take stuff apart like a bike. All installations, utilities, water, electricity is shown, is visible within the building, so it's easy to take up, it's easy to maintain, it's easy to take down, and it's easy to reuse. We got the facade is a click-on system. It's basically the way that you put up a wooden floor. So when we have to move the building, we can take it all apart without destroying it and reuse the facade again. And this is a picture of the building when it's like the raw structure. This is basically how the whole of North Harbor looked 10, 15 years ago, only they are stacked in a little different way. And here is a diagram telling how the building is built up. So this is the stacking of it, and you have to think of the container as a load-bearing beam. So this is how we get all our forces down to the ground, but the beam, like a steel beam, is so big that you can go into it. So it's also a room. And what we do in between the containers is that we put out a slab, like a deck, so we get big spaces in between, which is suitable for office spaces. So we get big spaces where people can sit together and interact, and we got little spaces where you can have a one-man office, you can have meeting rooms, you can have quiet rooms, you can have the server room we got in here, you can have the kitchen, you can have the toilets and so on in the container. And then what we put on up here is, this is a picture of our panel system. This panel system is made originally to refrigerate warehouses, so it's very cheap and it's very, very well insulated, so we get a very high or low energy consumption on the building, so it's very high energy efficient, and it's very cheap because people only think it's used for warehouses. And another thing is that two people put up a facade in a 3-story building at one day. So it's very rapid to put up and it's very rapid to take down. And this is a picture of the building when it was finished. So this is with the code on, and this is just mainly like a show off. We use this for storage and whatever. And today, in fact, these two are insulated on the inside, so people also have offices in here. But what is like very important as an architect is not to forget, not to be carried out with the system and what the system does, but to remember to make spaces that are that are lively, that are interesting, that want people to go to work there, that wants people to that gives them joy in their life, gives them a sense of meaning and inspiration and so forth. That's like our first most meaningful tasks as architects. So what we did here is we tried to make different spaces, different ceiling heights, different cross views through the building. This is like a section of the building. And I'll just show you some everyday pictures from my everyday. I'm sitting up here. And there's another office sitting here, and you see the different ceiling heights. You see that we got a connection to each other, even though we're not the same company. Within this, there's different kinds of places in the room that you can go. You got a meeting room in here. You got a quiet room over here. So it makes different kinds of moods in there. This is like the common space, which is also the stairway of the building, and this shows how these different rooms are and different offices are like interconnected with each other. So you have the feeling of the whole building as a live organism, even though you are only maybe a 2-man office or you are a 20-man office. And this is a picture the other way from the staircase, so you see towards our office up here. And what was very important for us was to have light from all sides, all directions of the world. So we get the sun going like this way around the building, so we see the day going through and we see the seasons change, and you've got a connection with the outside and the inside, both in the building and outside the building. And this is a room inside a container to show how it can be used. This is our model office, our model workshop space, and our small architectural library and stuff, and we have small meetings in here. And now on the side of our Arcgency project, we have another project where we try to do these container offices as like a one-stop shopping. So it's a one-stop shopping architecture. Just like you shop a car, you can buy a 1,000 square meters container office. So we have 5 different models. You choose a model, you tell where you want it. You say, I want it in Copenhagen, I want it in Kyiv, I want it in Mogadishu, and then we tell you when you can get it and how much the price is, and you can get back to doing your work. And this company is just like a startup company right now that we call DOC, and we got this slogan saying space as a product. And this way of seeing space or architecture as a product and the the potential in that way of grasping it, we got out of having a joint venture with this company called VIPP, a Danish household supplies manufacture company. They do like all kinds of things you have in your home, and they asked us to do a shelter for them which contains all their products, so like their tables, their tablewares, their kitchen, their daybed, their lamps, whatsoever. So and you can go to their website today and you can order this shelter and they'll ship it to you and you have it in 6 months. And they ship it to all over the world. So we spent 2 years with their head designer, Morten Bo Jensen, to make this project. So we drew everything in this. We drew every single bolt and joint, and everything is made by hand. Which make a very high, this is a little hard to see, so maybe I'll just tell you later. But this is, the idea is it's a minimal building, so it's only 55 square meters. But the assignment was to contain everything you need to live. So it's like minimal living for 4 people. So what you got when you got, it's like the container buildings, it's floating up the air, floating on the air, or floating above the ground, sorry. So you go up a ramp here and you have the toilet in here. Then you have like the leisure space, the relaxing space here with the daybed, a fireplace in here. You have the kitchen here and the table. And then all these sides, all these are glass panels that you can take apart, so you can have the building completely open in these directions. And then when you go above the kitchen, there's a double height space which contains a skylight. And on the other side, there's another double height space, but here you go up a ladder, and then you got the sleeping area up here. The whole building was made on a steel factory in Denmark. So we made all the details here, and when you work with blacksmith, then your tolerances are millimeters. If you work with carpenters, it's centimeters. So you can have detailing here, like if you had a furniture or if you had a product in your hand. So they made a very high detailing, and then they make everything on the factory. They take it to the site, and it takes them 3 days to put this building together, and then you're ready to move in. And what this gave us was this opportunity to have a very high level of detail. So, we made this ladder, we made this thing the ladder goes on, we made all these panels, we made the light. This is how we collect the water, so nobody sees, the water collecting system. We got the exact curve that we wanted on this to both collect the water so it doesn't go out and still have the aesthetics that we wanted. It's unfortunately a little hard to see here, but we made we made a whole panel here made out of steel with a profile that we came up with, because they just told us to which profile you want, we'll just make it. So this is a steel profile we have here, but every other wall inside the building is clayed with wool, like natural sheep's wool. So these gray facades here gives you like a very special light. It makes everything you touch with your hand inside the building is soft, and then you have the big windows which takes the nature in and frames the nature, and then you have the concrete floor which is heated. So this heated concrete floor makes it possible for you to walk around in barefooted, even though it's winter times and minus like 30 degrees in Sweden outside here. You can be inside in your bare feet, and your children can be on the floor. So even this very through design product can contain a very like homely feeling, because it's so dense and it's so close and it's so basic in some sense. So this is the family up here, like, enjoying their meal here, and you can see if you're on the bed, you can see the children playing over here, and one doing the dishes in the kitchen. So you're close to everything, and you're close to nature. And if nature is rough, then you got this very hard outside that shelters you. And when nature is friendly, you open up, and everything is like accessible. And again, this building has this sense of impermanence, that you have the permanent nature, you have the foreverness up here, and then you have this submarine spaceship-like thing that landed here for the amount of time that nature wants us to be here. Now I'd like to talk a little about the impermanence within the permanent and the potentials of transformation. All that we do what do we do with all the building mass like we have here, building masses old buildings that have changed their function, have, the function that they were built for has shifted and left the building, and the building is left alone. What do we do with all this building mass? And that's a huge amount of square meters we got all over the world. And especially I like to talk about two projects we did where they are, it's very specific building typologies. The typologies is built for one certain purpose, and this purpose has gone. So what do we do when we try to put a new purpose in? This is a former church in Copenhagen, and 3 years ago, the state of Copenhagen, or the state of Denmark, decided that they wanted to sell some of the state churches, which was first ever in like the 1,000 years that the Danish state church has existed. So it was kind of like political, balancing subject and a lot of emotions of what you're going to do with these former holy places and what you're going to put into them. So they put on 5 churches for sale, and we came up with concepts for 2 of them, which were selected. So one is that we made youth housing for students in one, and the other is this. We did with, and the youth housings are being built now, and this one we made in half a year. We made with a private family who they bought this church, and they wanted to reinforce the opportunity for people to meet each other, to talk to each other. So they thought everybody was on their iPhone all the time, looking down, not looking up, not looking each other in the eyes. And they wanted to make a space which could accelerate this intervention between people. And that was pretty much what they gave us, and then half a year to do it. So it was kind of stressful and kind of short of programmatic thoughts from them. But they were very nice and very involving while we did it. This was how the church looked when we got it from them, empty. And there was like 11 seconds of echo. So if I talked when we had the first meeting down here, and I said something to the client 11 seconds after, I heard myself again and again and again and again, because this is basically made for one person to stand up in this corner talking to people, not saying anything down here. And what we wanted to do was reverse it, to make people down here be the center of the stage, be the center of what is going on here. When you walk in the building, you are the important person. The interaction you have with the people around is what is important. And we had a lot of thoughts on how do we do this? How do we turn something that the Christian church used 1,000 years to come up with a typology that is so strong and actual. It has an axis where the minister is on the end talking to the community, and it's so in our bodies and in our culture how this works. So we did a lot of work how to flip this around. And basically what we did was to see the middle of of the church, take away all the benches, take them apart, reuse a lot of them, and then make a stage in here. So when you come in, you can see it all the way from the street. You can see that something new is going on in here, and you get in, and when you're in here, you are like in the middle of the stage. So you're doing your tricks now. And we had to work a lot with the sound, again, because we have 200 people eating common dinner here every day. We have people playing ping pong. We have people doing yoga in the same room at the same time. We have children. We have a kindergarten upstairs that comes down. We have, it's a big pile of everything, and it has to work. And so what we did was that we reduced the echo to 2.5, which is perfect for people talking to each other. It's perfect for if you got like rhythmical music. So we have concerts in here. We have movie theaters in here. So all of this stage can change during the day. It changes like 5 to 8 times. During the week they have 50 different events in here. And what we did was that we refurbished the existing church benches, and we hit all the appliances with the ventilation comes in around the floor here. The heating is in here, the heating is in here. All of these are speakers, so you have the music coming out here, and you have also radiators and heating in here. Then we have these 6-meter high panels that we made on a factory. And they are acoustic panels as well, so this is just a cloth. And then when we have a concert, then you close these, and then you double the amount of acoustics on the wall, because behind this there's another panel with just as much acoustic. So it works perfectly with concerts and speaks and so on now. And then it was very important for the client, for this family, especially for the mother in the family, that this place had an appearance or was interesting for all generations, all ages, all social classes. So it was not. It shouldn't reflect that it was made in 2016. It could have been made yesterday. It could have been made in the future, or it could be 50 years old. So it didn't have to have any time. It didn't have to have any style. It really has to break down all of this. And then we had collaboration with a Danish artist called Tal, and he made all these colors where he started to use these to make people interesting in going. This is really the back of the church where you were not allowed when it was a church. So this is only the guy who rang the bell, who went up this, and the guy playing the organ. And here was the organ before, but now we want you to sit here with your mom and dad and have a talk or have a tea and whatever. So we used these colors to like tear down the space and build it up again in a way in people's minds, to say this is a place where you can go and do your work or do your thing. The picture over here is the bar. The whole bar we built out of the former church benches. So this is like the side of the bench, and up here you got like the back of the bench. So we used all of them, took them apart, refurbished them, and made them into the bar. And that also like gives the sense of this non-time in the building, and gives a sense of what happened before and what's happening now. So there was an interlink between the social room of a church and the social room of a community hall. And this is just some kids. And this is another thing that sometimes it turns into parties, but this is actually a party going on 8 o'clock in the morning before people go to work. So people bring their kids before they go to kindergarten. They have a party with no alcohol but a lot of coffee, and then they have a dance, and then you go to work. And what I forgot to tell about the reason or like what we call this today with the people that our clients and the people work in the house is that Epsilon, which is the name of the church and also the name of the project today, is is your second living room. So this part of Copenhagen is a part with a lot of small apartments, but people want to stay there when they get family and when they get kids, but there's a limitation to how big the apartments can get. So we wanted people to stay, and they want to stay because it's a clean city, it's a livable city, it's a safe city, but we wanted to give them this space where they can go down and do the things you would do in a larger space and in a house, and sometimes it even acts like an outdoor space, but inside. And it's very well taken. It took like almost a year for people to have this feeling that they could go in and make the room their own, but now it's really a big success. You should try to go on the website called Epsilon CPH and to check it out, or come to Copenhagen and try it. And the last project I wanted to present for you is we are back at the North Harbour. This is just next to our own office, and it's an old industrial crane that we are refurbishing, and it's finished next week. We are opening it, and we had this crane that standed when we got out there. It standed like this. Maybe you remember the first or the second picture I showed was this crane standing there like a symbol of a time that was gone, and just like a monument that was slowly falling apart. And what we wanted to do was to upgrade this and give it back to the people, give people the experience of being in this crane. And what we did was we built or are building a one-bedroom hotel, which is up here in the old engine room, and out here in where the guy who controlled the crane was sitting. We have a lounge, so it's one big bed with a refrigerator underneath, so you can have cold drinks while you watch the sunset in Copenhagen. And Copenhagen is maybe a little like this side of Kyiv is facing east. So we are used to seeing the sun coming up, but we're not seeing it coming down. So this is like a really like a special thing in Copenhagen to have a nice sunset place. Then we made 2 terraces that you can come up and see the same sunset. Then the old counterweight on the crane, which stabilized the crane when it was getting things up here. We made that into a spa. So it's completely closed to this side, and it's all glass to the other side. And this side is facing the city, and the other side is facing the sea and facing Sweden, which is our neighboring country. And in the old crane track, which is this, which could move this way, back and forth, we built a meeting room in a glass box, and this meeting room is something that you can just go on the internet. You can buy an app. You can book a time in here. So everybody who works in the Northern Harbour or around it, you could book a time for, like, if you have like a special meeting up here, and you can sit almost on the water having this meeting with special clients. Now I will try to see if I can show you a little movie. This was made like 3 weeks ago or so. And here you have the closed side to this side. This is only closed now because they are painting it or welding up here. But you can see from the other side that it's glass all the way through. This is up where you can see the sun going down. And here you see the industrial sense of how the harbor is still now. And you see all of this is glass. So you can look out, and all of this is glass, and then you have like your little private space up here. And in a second, you'll see how the sunset is. And this again, this way of taking something that was supposed to be permanent, supposed to stand there as a crane for 100 years. And suddenly nobody used the crane anymore, and what to do with this and that way of thinking of the impermanence of a structure with putting new functions inside of it is something that we generally use as a generator in our work and how we like to approach the city. And you can go to our website to see the follow-up on that. And this is a rendering from the hotel room. And when you are ready to sleep, you got like a Murphy bed you take out of the wall. And we made the whole interior is black oiled wood. So you have the sense of this oily old machine-like feeling in this very small closed room. And then you have it as a very big contrast to like the living space outside, or it's like living art looking through these frames of the window when you look outside, and you have the sky and you have the sea. And this is the spa. So you have 2 bathtubs, and you look towards Sweden. And here you have a sauna. So you can sit in here and look over the sea all by yourself, and you'll have, when you go up here, you go up and have a feeling that you're in the middle of the city, and you go inside this door and you are in this weird cave. And this is a picture of the meeting room or this is a rendering we did like a year ago, and this is a picture like 2-3 weeks ago from this space where hopefully 2 weeks from now we will attend meetings in here. And last, I'll just say this is a picture from before we did anything with this structure. And this is me and Mads were standing up there and thinking, this is too good to be exclusive just for people who are willing to risk their life climbing up on the outside like we did. So we wanted to give this back to Nordhavnen or the North Harbour. We wanted to give the opportunities for people to experience this and experience the city in this way. And I will encourage you to do the same. Try to see how you can change the program, how you can change the building, how the buildings can be like impermanent, so it's not that hard to do. You just go out and do it. And this is another picture from our office. And I'll thank you very much for your time.
Що там, бар у церкві, вечірки о 8 ранку з кавою і без алкоголю, і міні-готель на портовому крані. Загалом захотілося в Данію, і ще захотілося почути ваші питання, коментарі, відповіді, заклики, освідчення до нашого спікера. Працюємо за правилом піднятої руки і говоримо виключно в мікрофон, щоб перекладачі могли перекласти для нього те, про що ви говоритимете. Я не бачу ваші руки. Є перша рука. Я лечу до вас на крилах свіжого весіннього, ні вже літнього вітру. Де ви?
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Maria. I'm a technology student. I just came from Canada. So I got a couple of questions for you. First of all, I really like your architecture, how you change the meaning of boxing, if I can call it like that.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, how you feeling, how far you can go with that? Because it looks like for me a little bit too construction, too industrial. So if you're saying like we can put that container over there in Ukraine, somewhere in another country, imagine that all those buildings will be built not separately, will be just in the one line. How do you feeling? Is it to be very too industrial, or it will looks fine for you? Thank you.
I like to say two things. One thing is that we did a lot of container projects that I didn't show here. We did a lot like temporary pavilions that were only there like a month and stuff. And we also did like a prototype with the Danish Technology Institution where we built a one family home, like a prefab home of containers. And what we did there was to end up not showing that anything was containers. So everything got gypsy boards on, and it looked like a regular building system, a regular home. And our conclusion in that is that we got so many other building systems that are clever and that are made to do that. So it doesn't make any sense if you don't use the containers as containers. You don't use the aesthetics that you have with the container when you do container projects like this. But if you do that, then you have a lot of possibilities because of the rapid way that you can put it up. The thing that you can take it down again is not many other, or there are not many other systems that can do that. So you can have it as a temporary thing. You can use it for something when you try out to make a cultural institution here, or you try out to make an office building here and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you take it down again. So that's two things. That you can use it as this temporary thing, but it has to give some sense of meaning to the place and to your function and your program, what you want to do to use the containers. So I would say if you are not interested in having this very industrial look and having the features that the containers use, then you should do something else. And that was also why the VIP project I showed is not containers, it's container size, but they started out thinking we could do it in containers, but we said if you want something this tactile, we need to do something else. We need to think of it as something else. Then the container is not the right product to use.
Hi, my name is Dima, and I want to say your lecture was great. It was very interesting, but I have one question. How have you solved the problem with the heating systems and ventilations, especially in the building in the woods, where you have two walls only with glass and another two only with the steel?
In the small VIP project, yeah. The one thing is that it's very high insulated, 3 layers of glass. And they have this, within them, they have this shading, which also, when you saw the picture from the lake, there was a lot of reflection in the glass. That's a cause or a byproduct of that you have the heating returned partly from the glass. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's very high insulated. So it's the same for the container projects. It's when you in a hot summer day, even in Sweden, if you put the hand on the outside of the facade of the VIP project, it's warm. But if you put it on the inside, it's cold. And that's because we use something called PER, which is a very high insulated material. So it doesn't. There's no thermal bridge between the actual facade and the inside. And the big glass is basically just it will heat this when you come up there in the summertime and it hasn't been open and you come into the building. It is very hot, but then you have the opportunity to open the glass doors and you have a cross ventilation in a 55 square meter house. It will make it cold like this. So it's very basic, and in our own container office we have very large glass panels as well, and part of them, like 1/3 of them or 20% of them is faced south. And even in Denmark in the wintertime, that gives a lot of heat inside, and we only have natural cross ventilation in there. And that's only with, that you open up the windows and you open up the doors and you have a cross ventilation. So it's very low tech.
Далі.
Hi, Could you clarify how did you handle this problem with wastewater from toilet, for example, another question, how did you solve the problem if someone need to repair the electricity nets? Where did they locate it in this problem?
Repair the what? Come again?
What do you want? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
What should I repeat?
Repair the what?
Repair some electricity nets.
Okay, how we
Yeah.
got electricity or how they repair it?
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, both of these are in areas where there are sewages. So, and there are electricity, and there are also district heating. So both in the project in Sweden and in our own office, we have an obligation to connect to the existing grid. But so we haven't solved to make this an off-grid system. It's all in the existing sewaging, and it's on the existing electricity system, and it's on this existing water supply system. So we would very much like to, if anyone have good ideas how to make it off-grid, that's something that we work on. But unfortunately, the existing grid systems are so efficient and so cheap, and sometimes by regulation you have to, in Scandinavia that is, you have to be on the systems because the municipality owns the systems, so they make legislation that you have to use their system.
About communications inside building.
What?
Я хочу всім нагадати, давайте не говорити без мікрофона, бо він не чує вас.
I mean some electricity nets which is inside the building, because some people can want to have some more light, for example, and more place to gadgets.
Yeah, then we just got, in our own building, we have, in one of them, in number 2, we have just like these cable trays, where you have all the electricity running up here. So if you wanted like more light or more circuits for computers or whatever, you tap it into like a cable tray. You know what that is? So you have all the cables visible, and so that's the only disadvantages with that is when the people who have to clean is a little messy up there. So that's how it is in the office.
Hi, I have a question about the crane project. Did you have a client for it, or it was your own initiative?
Oh, it was the same client as we rent our office from. So he comes to our office like once a week, and so to show it off to other of his clients. He got a lot of real estate going on in the North Harbour and in the central Copenhagen. But he luckily he really likes our project. So he keeps on bringing his friends and other clients to see that. And then we slowly tried to we made some drawings for him where he was up there with his wife. We have a guy at the office who's very good at hand drawings. So he made like a Christmas present 3 years ago where we made a hand drawing of him and his own personal construction worker, which he's been working with in 30 years. And then his wife in the crane, and then slowly we started to get him into the idea. But he's very open-minded, and you should also go to see another Danish company called Kobe. Just made a silo like you got a lot of down here in the harbor front as well, in like an old corn silo that they made into residential buildings in Copenhagen. And this is the same client who does this. So he's kind of open-minded, and we got him to go up in the crane. He's like 63 years, I think, old. We got him to go up in the crane when it was still a crane, and you had to crawl on the outside to get on the last part up there. So he's pretty open-minded.
Дорогі друзі, подруги, руки, є руки. Поки я йду до вас, я все-таки поставлю це питання. How much does it cost to build one apartment, 50 square meters? like you shown us?
Like the VIP project?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too expensive. That is pretty much, we would say that we span kind of broad because our own office is really, really cheap to build. So architects can also afford it. But the VIP project, I would never afford it. But we try to do it like as a Tesla model. So we use these very high costly products or assignments to get knowledge that we can use in projects that are less expensive as well. But I can't remember how many euros it is. I think it's 500,000 euros, I think, for 55 square meters. And they sold, I can't remember if it's 5 or 8 to California, which they're working on getting over there. And that's the first ones that they sold. The one I showed, they put up themselves. But they only started this like 1 year ago.
Thank you so much for the lecture. I would like to follow up the question before, like, have you ever had a desire to become a developer yourself? Because basically, like, with the story with Crane, is like you saw this potential. Clearly, Crane is a Crane. It's not a residential area or zoning or whatever in like a master plans. And you're able to see a potential in structures that then like their land use can be kind of transformed and you leave it somehow to client. But would you like to go this extra step as a developer yourself?
Yeah, I would love to all the time to get away with not the hassle and be able to get the profit of it. But what really stops is that being a developer is also a big risk, and that's pretty much one of the things. And my own financial status is also a limitation. But sometimes we do it a little bit with what we try to do with the new company, where we try to sell these 1,000 square meter offices. And we thought we should be more developer-like when we did it, when we started up. But I think we're not going to be that. We're gonna, the ones who are developers are usually the best at being developers, even though we think they're, nuts sometimes. And we also think that construction workers are nuts sometimes, but they're better construction workers than we are. So sometimes it's also that you have to stick to what you're good at. And I think what we are good at is sometimes to see the potential and then, see the strings, the people that we need. We need the guy with the money. We need the guy with the vision. We need the guy who can go to the mayor's office and tell this is the right thing to do. We need the right construction workers who think the same way as we do. So I think a lot of my learning as being an architect is your role is like being in the middle of the spider web. And if everything turns out, you get like a really beautiful spider web and you get a really beautiful project. But sometimes you feel things would go faster if you were your own developer.
Thank you. У нас є ще час на одне питання. Скажіть його або змовкніть навіки. Ні. Немає. Ну що ж, дуже дякуємо ще раз цьому чарівнику, я б назвав його чарівником, який приїхав до нас з Данії, Сімон Вінцент. Бурхливі оплески.